For all you real Magic fans, I know you guys are just saying one thing. Do we get to see Darkchild again? Guess one way to find out. My name is Dorian, this is SCM Comics. We're starting our covers of Magik. Number 1. Our story starts off in Juneau, Alaska. Not exactly where our X-Men are at, but it's in the vicinity. And we see a girl running for her life, asking for anybody to help her. And then she gets slammed hard to the ground. Now you could tell by her hands, she's a mutant. And she's being dragged away. She's trying to use her claws to try to grip the concrete, but it ain't working. And nobody comes to help her. One girl looks out of her window. That's it. And then we cut to Ilyanna as a little girl talking to her brother Pietro, and she's wondering how her life would have been if she didn't spend her childhood in limbo. Now, this is a dream that she's having. She even knows this is a dream because she even tells her brother, like, look, this is my dream. I can do what I want to with it. But then somebody grabs her and says, what about me? And yes, this is Darkchild. And then we see a lot of the X-Men dead. And this is what she fears. If she unleashes Darkchild, yeah, she can probably stop whatever enemy she's going up against. But also, too, she might kill her family. Her X-Men family. But then she wakes up and she's worried because during Krakoa, she didn't really have dreams about Darkchild. But now, it's her third dream in the past week. But she's not going to worry about that right now. She gets dressed and then she heads to the Child Hall where everybody surprises her. Why? Because it's her birthday. So Juggernaut has a stack of pancakes and wants her to make a wish because he puts a candle on it. Quentin Quire is trying to put a birthday hat on her, and she's like, look, if I'm going to celebrate my birthday, I at least want a birthday cake and not pancakes. So then Quentin's like, why are you being so grumpy? Are you having a quarter-life crisis? Which, once I read that, made me feel so old. I was reading about Ilyanna way before I was 25 years old. And now that she turned 25 in this comic, I'm 20 years older than her. Make it make sense, people. And I know what some of you guys are going to say. Franklin Richards. I know. But then there's a newscast on and they're talking about how mutants are coming up missing in Juneau. And Ilyanna's like, that's my cue. Opens up a portal and disappears. So everybody's looking at Cyclops like, you gonna let her do that? And Cyclops was like, look, this ain't the first time she's led to be alone. Won't be the last. So now we cut to a funeral of the girl that got her face slammed to the pavement and dragged off. So I guess they found her and she was dead. Now Juneau's a small town, a place where kind of like everybody knows everybody. And you got people on the outside having a pep rally about how no mutants should be here and how they brought in some monster that's hunting them down. And they were like spraying on like the funeral home talking about no more mutants. Now there's also this older lady who seems to be scribbling some kind of magic incantation on top of the casket. So the Magik shows up, she walks through a portal, and these protesters have the nerve to actually get her in face, one in particular. And Magik's like, look, you might want to get out of my way. And then he calls her a demon. So she's like, I'm not a demon. Those are demons. So she's like, so do you want my help or do you want me to get lost? Either way is fine with me. As she pulls out her soul sword. And she gets to do what she loves the most.
Killing Nazis.
Demons. Killing demons. And she has to save some town folks by opening up a portal. Which, if you know anything about magic portals, yeah, they'll go to a safe place. But to get there, they gotta pass through limbo. So they'll get a quick glimpse of what it looks like. So one dude who doesn't know how to give up his mullet because he's bald as but still got all his hair in the back, throws down this mutant girl because he understands that the demons are after the mutants and nobody else. So the Magik saves this girl by pushing the demon into a portal with her. So Magik kills the demon, saves the little girl, and they got teleported to a graveyard where there's some little boy who's sitting there crying. Magik goes over to try to comfort him and come to find out he's a demon too. Except for this one looks more human than he does demon as he transforms, and he has a gun. Like, he looks like an old school cowboy. And he shoots Magik right in the shoulder. She takes it, she heals herself. He shoots again and she gets out the way of the bullet, but then he goes burst as they spread around and go right back to her. So all of a sudden, this old lady from the funeral home shows up with her grandson. They walk through a portal too. And then she starts to let her grandson know that I guess their family was in charge of protecting the world by keeping this demon sealed away with 5 magic seals. She wanted to give him more of a childhood, so this is why she didn't tell him this, but now she has to tell him everything that's going on now, as she's blocking the bullet with a magical force field. So then our demon cowboy walks over to the little girl. She tries to use her mutant ability, like I guess a sonic scream. Doesn't work, and then he just pretty much drains her power and kills her. This pisses off Ilyanna, and she starts tapping into Darkchild. He shoots a bullet at her. He says explode, and it does, but like I said, she taps on the Darkchild, so she powers right through it. So then the grandma is still talking to her grandson, and she's like, look, these are the things that we need to do. This is the book that we use to learn everything. You're going to have to learn everything on the fly, and whatever you do, don't trust the Darkchild. And he's like, but she's helping. She goes, don't trust Darkchild. So the cowboy demon is just shooting at her. Shoots a bullet, says split, splits in 2, hits her. She just powers through it. Shoots another bullet, he goes burst. All these bullets hit her. She just powers right through it because she's in her Darkchild persona. And then the grandma's like, hey child, why don't you start using magic? Because I know you know how to use magic. And Ilyanna's like, you know what? You're right. As she calms down, she's like, every time I let you take control, you just try to brute your way through things. She wipes the blood off her and she goes, no longer. She throws it at the demon, the cowboy demon, and she goes silence. And now he can't talk. When he shoots a bullet, he tries to say something, he can't. So now there's no more bullets. As she deflects easily and she takes off his arm. But then with his other arm, he pulls out another gun and he decides to, okay, no problem. He shoots the grandma. Once he does that, he says that the first shield is now destroyed and whatever demon he works for, I believe his name is Luminal, might be pronouncing that wrong, will be free soon. So Magik grabs the boy who's holding the grandma and then passes through a portal to avoid some kind of explosion that's about to happen. And then she uses a magical spell to help contain the rest of the explosion that's happening. So the little boy's mourning his grandmother. Magik walks over there like he's about to console her, but then she kind of changes her mind. Little boy gathers up his grandma's things and it's like, she wanted me to follow in her footsteps. Everything that's in this book is going to show me how to stop those demons. Magik's like, you might want to let me stop the demons. He goes, no, you need my help to stop these demons and I'm not letting you out of my sight. So he lets her know that we're partners. He shakes her hand, he picks up his grandma and then walked through a portal. But as it was walking, a paper dropped from her bag that shows the Darkchild, and whatever demon is now reading this, and it was like, whether it's a gift or a curse, whatever happens, this should be fun. My name is Dorian, this is SEM Comics. We continue our coverage of Magik with number 2. Our story starts off in Tokyo, Japan, where we have Magik hanging out with her new best friend Kyle, and they're trying to find the next seal that's going to hold this demon named Luminal in his dimension so he doesn't come to Earth and wreck shop. The problem that we're having with these two is that Kyle was told by his grandmother before she died not to trust the Darkchild, which he's seen firsthand. And Magik feels like Kyle is too young to be going through all this craziness, especially since what she went through when she was his age. And it just continues with these two. She wants to scout around the city. He wants to go. She doesn't want him to go because she doesn't want him to get hurt. She wants to look at his grandma's notes. He won't let her because she's a Darkchild. And then this barista walks up to Magik, starts talking to her in Japanese, and invites her to some kind of rave, underground rave that's going on by some band that's undiscovered. And the Magik's like, right now we're kind of busy, so maybe next time. But she stays persistent and she starts talking about, hey, they're still going to throw this even though there's been a rash of disappearances, which perks Magik ears up. And she's like, disappearances, you say, huh? Maybe we will go. So 2 hours later, they show up to this underground rave. They go through Magik's step disc. So the barista, that's her first time. So now she feels kind of sick. And then Magik starts using magic to see if she can see where the seal is, and she can't see anything, but she's also saying that something's blocking her powers. Now when they were in a coffee shop, Kyle was talking about how he misses his best friend Ren. And then as soon as we look to the stage, there goes Ren. But that's not Ren. She hits a crazy looking guitar which sends out this crazy like magical pulse. Magik gets to Batista and Ren out the way. She transforms and starts using her soul sword so she doesn't get blown away. Ren now looks crazy as hell, and now all kinds of demons start coming out of her guitar. So Magik knows she has to do something. She's trying to sense if Ren's still in there, but she is not. She's just a shell that the demon's wearing. So then she goes to attack, but then the demon plays something on the guitar again, and now Magik can't move. So now the demons pretty much mess with Magik. She's like, oh, if you only had a little more power, if only there was something that was like right underneath the surface that can help you. And she brings out the Darkchild. The demon hits her guitar again. Magik goes flying right past Kyle, and then Kyle sees that she's turned into the Darkchild, and he's like, here we go again. So now Darkchild steps in and she takes out a few demons as she tries to get back to Ren the demon. She comes down with her soul sword. Ren blocks it with that crazy looking guitar and then hits her with some kind of blast from her mouth that hurts Darkchild pretty good. But now Darkchild starts to use her power and she summons the demons from limbo. All these hands start coming out of nowhere. They're getting the demons, but now they're also grabbing normal people too. So Kyle has to save the barista from getting snatched by one of the hands from limbo, and now the barista, who kind of had a crush on Magik, now sees her for what she is and not so much anymore, which kind of shakes Magik to the core, and she's like, all right, I gotta get out of this Darkchild mode. Before that though, she kills a few more demons. Now at the coffee shop, Kyle and Magik were talking, and Kyle was explaining how he was studying science and how his grandma was into magic. I mean, that's pretty much the family business. So Ilyanna explains to him that magic and science aren't really that different. Like, they kind of follow the same parameters when it comes to rules. So then Kyle explains to Ilyanna that Ren is using some kind of frequency when it comes to her magic, which now Ilyanna kind of understands. Once Kyle tells her what the frequency is, she does a spell on her arm, and now that'll allow her to go do what she needs to do. She grabs her soul sword and she goes right at Ren. Ren hits her guitar and does nothing. And this time she cuts Ren into pieces. Now Kyle's crying because this was his best friend, even though technically Ren died way back in issue 1. And Magik's crying because she feels like she let down Kyle because she turned into Darkchild. And Kyle, to his surprise, says, you can say that, but if it wasn't for Darkchild, we wouldn't have got this far. So don't be mad because you got to turn into Darkchild. Sometimes you don't have a choice. But then all of a sudden, a portal opens up underneath Magik. She falls through it, and you have Liminal surrounded by a whole bunch of demons, and he wants to have a conversation with her. My name is Dorian. This is SCM Comics. We're continuing our coverage of Magik. Number 3. Our story starts off with Ilyanna trying to get away from Liminal. I think I pronounced that right. She's been trapped in his dimension for what she feels like it's been weeks. Now, Liminal is no different from Mephisto, Dormammu, Sidorak, hell, Magik herself. When it comes to their dimension, they're at their most powerful, which Ilyanna is finding out firsthand. He just snaps his fingers and he summons Cat, who Ilyanna says is a version of Kitty Pryde, who helped her when she was rebelling against Belasco. Belasco's the original ruler of Limbo. And unfortunately, when it was all said and done, Cat succumbed to Belasco's black magic. Now, despite Liminal chasing her and summoning these demons, I guess, to fight her, he's trying to talk to her. He's like, look, it doesn't have to be like this. I just want to talk. So obviously Ilyanna's having none of it, so Liminal says, okay, snaps his fingers, summons more demons. So while these demons are ganging up on her, Liminal is saying that she doesn't have to be a victim like she was when she was in Limbo. Like, she just tapped into her Darkchild persona. And Ilyanna's like, no, that's not happening. She uses her own power, she gets all the demons off with her, and then she starts to take them out one by one. So she takes off running again, and Liminal is just intrigued with her. So she's hiding. She thinks she's kind of safe for a minute, and she's trying to get her thoughts. When all of a sudden, Liminal shows up. This time, he's not himself, he shows up as Belasco. So as Luminol gets closer to her, all of a sudden she snaps her fingers, and now Luminol steps in one of her spells. She says it's a simple spell, but it's effective. As this tentacle beast comes out of nowhere and starts ripping him apart, and now Luminol has to start using all of his magic to summon the beast away and put himself back together. But also gives Ilyanna enough time to bust out her soul sword, and now she's like, I'm on the attack. So now she's about to come down with that soul sword, but like I said, his dimension is like an extension of himself. He gets himself out the way, he also grabs her, and now they're right back where they started, right in his chamber hall. So again, he's just trying to talk to her, but she ain't having none of it, and she throws her soul sword right at his head. I mean, right at his head. Now, despite that, he's still trying to talk to her, but she ain't hearing it still. She just comes up, grabs her soul sword, and then tries to cut his head off, and she cuts clean through his chair until she hit his head, and then it stopped. And he grabs his eye, and he's like, you know what? I hate to do this. Now, I guess I gotta flex on you. And that's exactly what he does. Flexes his power. After that, he stops what he's doing. He picks up his eye, he puts it back, and fixes it. And he's like, look, you don't want to see what's underneath this. Trust me. So I got a little angry, but I promise I won't do it again. So now, again, he's just trying to talk to her, and he lets her know that, look, when this all started, I thought you were just like a nuisance. But then I started to observe you and realize that we have a lot in common. So then we do a flashback when he was a normal boy. Yes, he was a normal human being. And these witches walk up to him and pretty much look at him as a sacrifice. They were trying to use him to gain more power. But unfortunately, one of them botched the spell or just wasn't fully committed like she should have been. And the power went into him and didn't go anywhere else. So now Ilyanna is finally willing to kind of listen. And she's like, oh, you're kind of like me. You didn't want any of this. You were kind of forced into this. So he had all this power, and now he's scared the bejesus out of some people. And another covenant came and bound him and put him in the dimension that he's in right now. So he stayed there for a while, but then he decided that he needs to get out of there. Now, normal humans, there's not enough power there to even begin to break the seals. But mutants, they're a little different. And that's why he went on his crusade. And I was like, but you're killing mutants. I can't condone that. Well, he was like, they're not dead. I just store them and use their power, but they're not dead. They're still alive. And Ilyanna's like, look, I saw them die right before my eyes, so you're lying to me. So Luminol's like, you know what? Let's play a game. And Ilyanna is like, I'm kind of trapped down here, so I guess I gotta play her game. And I shouldn't have to say this, but just in case anybody's wondering why she doesn't teleport out of there, she can't make her teleportation disc in his dimension. He's like, look, I'm gonna bring down all your mental blocks that you got for Darkchild. If you stop me, then I'll go ahead and I'll wipe out her persona altogether. You'll never have to deal with her again. But if you don't, then she comes to the forefront and she takes over. So Ilyanna's like, deal. And then Darkchild comes out of nowhere and it's like, I'll be seeing you soon. And then Luminol teleports her out of there. So he teleports her back to Japan, and she's like, where's Cal? I gotta find him. And she's like, Ecuador. That's interesting. So she teleports her butt right to Ecuador. She sees Cal, she hugs him, and he's like, how'd you find me? And then she admits that she put like this magical tracking device on him just in case something like this happened, which kind of pisses him off a little bit. So despite that, he's willing to show her the book, even though his grandma told him not to trust her. And she's like, oh, well, I guess it only took you a few weeks to start trusting me. He's like, a few weeks, like it's only been a few days. So Ilyanna's like, wow, it seemed like weeks down there. And then she tells him about the deal that she made with Luminol. And he's like, are you serious? Like, why didn't you talk to me before? And all I'm thinking to myself, like, she was trapped down there. How the hell is she going to come talk to you if she can't go anywhere? I mean, what's she supposed to do? Call you on your cell phone? Like, she's not like in a bad area. She's in another dimension. So now he's like really pissed, and he puts away the book and he says, well, I'm here and I actually have some help. They went to go get some supplies, but hopefully I'll be back soon. All of a sudden, I hear somebody says, am I interrupting something? And we see it's Danny Moonstar, aka Mirage. Now, Danny and Ilyanna were like thick as thieves back during the New Mutant, so she even says that Danny's like her best friend. Right now, she's the last person she wants to see. Support the comic book industry by visiting your local LCS. My name is Dorian. This is SEO Comics. We continue our coverage of Magik. Number 4. Our story starts off in the Cloud Forest in Ecuador. We have Magik and Mirage, and they're fighting the demons of Luminol. Hope I said it right. Luminol was one of them. Anyway, they're on a gondola. They're fighting the demons, and they're also having a conversation. You see, Danny doesn't like the deal that Ilyanna made with Luminol. You see, the guy of his hell dimension, she went ahead and said, okay, no problem. I'll loosen the controls of Darkchild. If I stop you, then Darkchild's gone forever. If I don't stop you, then Darkchild takes over. You see, Danny knows firsthand how Darkchild is and when Darkchild just loses control. So she has significant reason on why she's worried about this. And Ilyanna just wants her to trust her, that she cuts this demon in half. I mean, splits him right down the middle. Like, it amazes me how these superheroes can fight bad guys and also have conversations. Like, the Fantastic Four does that a lot. Like, in One World Under Doom #2, the Fantastic Four are stopping these bank robbers, or I don't know what they were doing, but they were taking something. And they were shooting at them. They were doing all kind of stuff. And the Fantastic Four was having a whole conversation about Doom and maybe acknowledge these guys one time. So Danny jumps down on Magik's sword, and Magik throws up in the air, and then she rains down these magic arrows on these demons. Ilyanna's pretty much like, why did Cyclops send you? Like, I told him I could handle this myself. And then Danny's like, first off, Cyclops didn't send me. I'm not a part of any X-Men team. I am a part of the Society of the Eternal Dawn, which is the same society that Cal's grandma was in. That's why she's a part of this right now. So then Danny's like, before you start talking mess about the society, there are perks to being a part of it, like my bow. It amplifies my X gene, so now my arrows also work on demons. So to finally get rid of all these demons, Ilyanna goes to Danny and is like, should we do the hook and dagger? And then Danny's like, we didn't come up with a better name than that. Ilyanna's like, we were 16. Of course we didn't. So Danny's like, all right, let's do it. Then they do a flashback back when they was a part of the New Mutants. And they were doing the same thing where Danny shoots out her arrows, which is like a mirage, hence her code name. And then Ilyanna comes with her big old soul sword and cleans them all up. So there's one last demon left. This one's a smart one. He doesn't even try to attack him. He just attacks the core of the gondola. And then the gondola starts to fall. While they are falling, Ilyanna goes ahead and cuts the demon in half and sends him back to his realm. Danny shoots a tree with one of her magic arrows, or should I say mirage arrows, swings down, and Ilyanna is surfing on her soul sword. That's the second time we see her surf on her soul sword. Once they get to the forest floor, Mirage touches the ground and she's like, yeah, Liminal demonic influence is starting to spread, so we need to take care of this, and we need to take care of this right now. So as they're walking, the truth is starting to come out a little bit. Like, Ilyanna feels like Danny doesn't trust her, and she's just trying to take over like she did when they were a part of New Mutants, because Danny was the one that was in charge of the New Mutants. She was the leader. And Ilyanna is just trying to prove to her that she's grown since their time with the New Mutants, and that she can handle things herself. And sure enough, they run into more of Liminal's demons. So Magik tries to use a magic spell, and it doesn't work. Now, the reason why it's not working, she doesn't want to tell Danny that. Like, she told Danny that the reason why it's not working is because ever since she came out of Liminal's dimension, that her power's been kind of wacky. Really, the reason being is because she's trying to hold back the Darkchild. And since her bears are down, it's taking a lot out of her. So Danny steps in and she uses a trick where she shoots a whole bunch of mirage arrows, but also a whole bunch of the real magic arrows that takes these demons out. They don't know which one to avoid and which one not to avoid. So then they finally run into one of Luminol's top demons that's there to take care of the seal. Magik recognizes her as one of the witches that actually brought Luminol the power. And then she tried to take said power for herself, failed, and now this is her fate. She has to serve the creature that she created. Now there was a research team that was down here in South America that had a few mutants on it. They killed pretty much everybody on the research team except for the mutants for this purpose, so they could use them as sacrifices, because using mutants as sacrifices is better than using regular humans. Mutants carry more power in their blood, and that's why Luminol has been taking out mutants, because it gets him to his goal faster. But then the witch is like, forget this, why don't we use the blood of the mutants that's trying to stop her? And she attacks Magik and Mirage. Mirage uses a mirage of Luminol, which stops the witch dead in her tracks, and then Magik comes in with a soul sword and slices the hell out of her. So now the witch realizes that she actually might lose, so instead of losing and going back to her master empty-handed, she says bunk this. She slams the ground, knocks down Magik and Mirage, and then she stabs one of the research mutants, releases the seal, and was like, now he can't do nothing to me. So then Magik starts going crazy on these demons, starts cutting them in half. Mirage helps out by shooting a whole bunch of these demons with her arrows. The other mutant is a part of the research team are pretty much saved, so the witch is like, you know what, it's not we're fighting you guys, I did my job, and she rolls out. So Magik is pissed off because now that seal's broken, Darkchild's getting closer and closer to the surface. As you can see, her eyes are demon red and the horns are starting to come out of her forehead. So she starts going wild on the rest of these demons that are still remaining there, and Mirage tries her best to calm her down as Darkchild is really starting to come out. But she does calm her down, and then we cut later to the base camp that they're at. And they're just kind of sitting there, shooting the breeze, having drinks, and kind of confiding in each other because they are best friends and they haven't talked to each other in a long time. And Danny pretty much tells her that, you know, she's a ride or die and she'll be there for her no matter what. But then we cut to later on that night and Danny's talking to Kyle. And she pretty much tells him that she wants him to keep tabs on Ilyanna. And Kyle's like, I thought that was your friend. I thought you trusted her. And Danny's like, I do trust her. I don't trust the Darkchild, so I need you to keep tabs on her, because if the Darkchild comes out, it's going to be an issue. And the reason why I don't want to tell her this is because she would never trust me again if she ever found out we was having this conversation. And on the last page, we see Ilyanna listening on the whole thing, and it looks like Danny was right, because the way Ilyanna's crying, she ain't never going to trust her again. Support the comic book industry by visiting your local comic book store. My name is Dorian. This is SEO Comics. We continue our coverage of Magik. Number 5. Our story starts off in Ireland where we have Ilyanna, Danny, and Kyle, and they're watching a bunch of mutant sheep herders. For some reason, that was surprisingly hard to say, at least for me anyway. Anyway, Ilyanna is giving Kyle and Danny a hard time, bunch of attitude, which if you watch the last video, you know why. If not, link to the playlist will be in the description. When all of a sudden, one of Luminol's generals comes out and starts attacking the mutant sheep herders. And it's not just any general, it's actually one of the witches that is responsible for even making Luminol possible. Now, if you're sitting there lost, again, link to the playlist will be in the description, or Luminol is about to clear it all up here in a minute. So she has a fire lasso and she snatches up one of the mutant sheep herders, takes her. Danny's like, hey, you gotta go head her off at the pass. So she opens up a portal. Danny runs through it. She uses her magic to put out the fire, and then she jumps into the portal, telling Kyle to stay here and help protect the other mutants. Once Ilyanna goes to the portal, we see Danny is already fighting with the other general, who's also responsible for creating Luminol. We saw her in the last video. She uses her power by slamming her staff on the ground. Danny and Magik jump, and Danny's like, you can't fool us twice with the same trick. But while she's in the air, the fire general comes and knocks the hell out of Danny. So Ilyanna starts fighting the other general, and she's like, look, I am already in a bad mood. As they go at it, So Danny, as she picks herself off the ground, is like, Magik, do you want to talk about something? As she gets up, throws a tomahawk right at the fire general. So as they're arguing, they're still working together. Like, Danny shoots 2 fire dragon arrows, and then Magik uses her magic and turns them into huge dragon fire arrows. So finally, the 2 generals are like, you know what, forget this. Let's just sacrifice this mutant and get the hell out of here. And then Luminol chimes in and was like, do you really think that 1 mutant is going to be enough to break a seal and bring me back? So then he's like, you 2 are the ones who try to sacrifice me so that you can garner the power. You 2 are the reason why I am down in this dimension. And you 2 are the reason why my life has become a living hell. Well, now you 2 are going to be the ones who help free me. As he uses his power, grabs both of them, smashes them into the mutant, and it just looks all kinds of nasty. It falls onto the sacrifice table, and then I guess all 4 seals, if I'm not mistaken, 4, are now broken, and Luminol is now here. And Magik loses control and turns into Darkchild. So as Luminol and all of his demons show up, he looks at Magik and is like, beautiful. But she just goes off and starts killing a whole bunch of his demons. And then she tries to get back control of herself. And then Darkchild's like, no, not right now. So finally it gets to the point where Magik has to take a little mini soul sword and stab herself in the leg just to gain some kind of control over Darkchild. So then Luminol uses his magic to create like a barrier and forces Danny away from Ilyanna. And he's like, she's mine now, so you can go on about your business. And then Danny, she comes clean about how she feels about Darkchild, how she always been scared of Darkchild, but she always admired how Ilyanna was able to suppress Darkchild. And then Luminol, who thinks he's safe behind his barrier, but Danny had to show him otherwise. If she shoots an arrow, he has to move his head to get out the way because it got right through that barrier and shoots one of his demons right in the head. So now we cut to Ilyanna's mindscape, where her and Darkchild are having a discussion, or at least Darkchild is trying to have a discussion. Ilyanna is just attacking her and punching her, and Darkchild's not fighting back. And Darkchild's like, you say that we're 2 separate beings. That's not the case. I am you. I was created to protect you. I might have been born in limbo, but I've always been here to protect you because I am you. So Ilyanna's like, I never thought about that. And the Darkchild's like, you might not like some of the ways that I do things, but I'm always there to protect you because I am you. Says it one more time. So the Magik helps up Darkchild, kisses on the forehead, and it's like, you know what? Let's try something new. Let's try to work together. So Danny and Cal are fighting the demons Luminol. Luminol's like, Cal, it was your family's blood that trapped me here. But you don't even have any magic of your own. So Cal's reading a book and he sends a magic spell to him, which Luminol brushes off and is like, you call that magic? Then he's like, this is magic. He's about to hit him with a huge spell. And then Danny grabs Kyle, tries to get in the way, but then Ilyanna shows up with Darkchild. Now, Luminol just think it's just the Darkchild, but Danny can see that it's a combination of the 2. And she's like, quit showing off and go whoop his ass. So she turns around and knocks the bejesus out of Luminol, to the point to where that shell that he has to try to look normal is just shattered. And finally he just comes out the shell and was like, you know what? You think you're going to be able to handle me? Do you know who I am? So he grabs his foot and then slams him to the ground and slams him again. I swear to God, I was always thinking it was like, this is the episode of Flintstones. This is Bam Bam. Just bam, 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 bam. That was Ilyanna. So she puts the soul sword to his throat and she's like, now it's time for you to go back. And he's like, you can't kill me. My dominion is now tethered to this world. So if you destroy me, you're going to destroy this world too. So she uses her power and she snatches him up in like this giant magic hand. And Ilyanna's like, that's not going to hold him for long. So we need to think of something. And Danny is like, we need to create another seal. And then Magik's like, all right, well, I guess I'll create the seal. I'll sacrifice myself. And then Cal's like, no, it was our family that sealed him in the first place. It should be our family that does it again. So Ilyanna's not listening to him She's like, no, you need to have a childhood. She snatches the book from him, and then she starts to do the whole magic incantation to create the seal. Cal, because out of nowhere, knocks her out the way, just shoulder blocks her, and then he jumps and merges with Luminol, and I guess Luminol is inside of Cal, and he is the seal. So Ilyanna catches him, and she's like, why? Like, why did he do that? And then he's like, he was just trying to protect you. This whole time, he was just trying to protect you, but you wouldn't slow down to listen to him. Like, you're too, like, on your own a lot of times, and you don't realize that we're a team. So Ilyanna's like, all right, well, I'll take him. And Daniel's like, no, I'm taking him. Like, I'm gonna step in. We try to do it your way. This is how we got here. Now we're gonna do it my way. So I'm taking him, and I'm gonna take him back to the forest, to Amazon forest. I think that's where it was at. I'll take care of this. So then we go back to Alaska, back to the factory. Cyclops is waking up, or, you know, he's walking, and then he sees Ilyanna, who's in the kitchen, and he's like, oh, I didn't expect you back to take care of everything you take care of. He looks at her, and he goes, oh, and he just starts grabbing some pancakes, and he starts grabbing some milk out the refrigerator, and he's talking to her, and it's like, you know, we've been like friends forever, and you've been on multiple teams with me. Like, you know, you helped build a lot of these teams, and I can't even imagine you, or I can't imagine having a team without you being there. As he's making pancakes, so he makes some for her, some for himself, and then we see that Ilyanna's crying because she has Danny telling her that she needs to be less of a loner and be more part of a team, and then she has Cyclops telling her that she's like an essential part of the team and that she is a team player. So right now she's just confused. And next issue, we get the Goblin Queen, Madeline Pryor. That's right, Cable's mama. And that means we get Limbo. I am so excited for the next issue. Support the comic book industry by visiting your LCS. My name is Dorian. This is SEM Comics. We continue our coverage of Magik on number 6. Our story starts off in the Limbo Embassy in Manhattan. Now, if you're wondering why Limbo has an embassy in New York, Krakoa, just that happened during Krakoan era. And you have Madeline Pryor walking with one of her demon assistants, for all intents and purposes. And he's trying to let her know that there are some rebel forces in Limbo that pose a real threat to her leadership. But she ain't really listening to him because she feels like she has bigger issues, because in her words, she is the mutant queen of a demonic realm, and the UN is probably not going to look kindly to. But as soon as she goes to open the door, there is a huge explosion. Huge explosion that pretty much brings down the Limbo Embassy. But then we cut to Minnesota, where you have Magik, Juggernaut, and Psylocke, and they're hunting down the remaining demons of Luminol. And you got Juggernaut, who's like, man, I'm so happy you included us in this, because I am so happy to be away from Alaska for a while. Which is saying something, because it's not like they're somewhere that's like known to be warm. It's Minnesota. But all of a sudden Magik gets like this mental pain, and as much as she wants to be away from the place, she's still connected to Limbo, and she knows something happened. So she teleports to New York just in time to see Madeline Pryor free herself from the rubble. She protected herself with her mutant abilities, but she still got messed up. So Magik's trying to help her, and she's just wondering what the hell is Magik even doing there. So then she's like, you. And then she walks over to this demon. She goes, kneel. And then she's like, let's see what secrets you have to hide. You see, a lot of people tend to forget that Madeline Pryor has all the powers of Jean Grey. So she reads his mind, and yes, he's the one that rigged her office to explode. So then she's like, my aide was right. I need to deal with these rebels, and I need to deal with these rebels right now. So then she turns to Magik, and she's like, look, I never wanted you here, but since you are here, you might as well come inside. And then Magik's like, look, I'm not here to do anything but help you. This is your show. Again, I'm just here to help. So Madeline just pretty much wants her to come inside so that the media doesn't eavesdrop on whatever they gotta say. So once they're inside, Madeline lets Magik know that she actually has intel on these rebels and how they're trying to create a weapon that will rival her Sigh of Sorrow or Magik's Soul Sword. because the weapons are the reason why they're able to lay claim to the throne. So the Magic's like, yeah, this is probably going to be an issue. And then Madeline's like, look, don't you try to pin this on me. I've been far more active than you ever were. And again, Magic's like, I'm not trying to challenge you, or I'm not trying to critique your rule. Again, I'm just here to help. So Magik opens up a portal and goes, after you, your highness. And then Madeline's like, that's not even the right term. So they get to Limbo, they go into the castle, and she's like, get my war council together, and also let them know that we have a special guest. So she meets with a war council, and she wants to know exactly what they know about these rebels. So one of them's like, they've been using old magic to cloak themselves, but now that we discovered them, they're actually a lot closer than what we first thought. So the Madeline's like, why didn't you just deal with them? And they're like, because we can't make a move without the queen's approval, and you haven't been here to approve anything. So of course this pisses off Madeline, and she's like, I won't be questioned by my own council, because this makes her look bad, like right in front of Magik. And then the demons are actually looking for the approval of Magik, which pisses Madeline off to no ends. And she's like, if you're looking for your queen's approval, she's right here. And then one of the demons like, forgive us, your majesty, but Ilyanna Rasputina holds the soul sword. So the Ilyanna's like, newsflash, I gave up the throne to Maddie, so she gives the orders now. So Madeline just storms off because she's pissed off, and she's like, you know what, I'll just handle this myself. So then Magik turns into Darkchild, and she goes, send your battalions to back us up, or don't, but know that there will be consequences. I haven't forgotten your hospitality when I was younger. So then Ilyanna catches back up to Madeline, and Madeline's like, look, this is the exact reason why I didn't want you to show up, because they were going to question my rule. Like, this thing is hard enough with you gone. With you here, it's almost impossible. So then we cut to the rebel demons, and they are trying to make a soul sword, and it looks like they're actually pretty successful. But then our two queens of Limbo, former and current, pay him a visit. So the demons are definitely caught off guard, and Madeline's like, well, speak. And then they're like, we will not lower ourselves to speak to a human. Humans are meat, are playthings, not our rulers. So go back to your own ilk. So then Madeline's like, I can see where you're coming from. My answer is no. And then she cuts one of them in half. So as they start fighting, Magik is thinking to herself, and she's kind of questioning Maddie. And then Madeline has to remind her that she can hear all of her thoughts. Again, all the powers of Jean Grey. So she's concentrating on the fight. She's also concentrating on what Magik is saying about her in her head, that she loses focus of the demon that's right behind her and knocks her down. So they grab her, and then the demon that made the soul sword, well, the new soul sword, is about to stab her with it, when all of a sudden Magik is like, I wonder. She uses her powers, and she summons the sword to herself. Once she grabs the sword has some dark energy to it, which is perfect for Darkchild. So as she holds both swords, she's a little bit of Darkchild and also a little bit of herself. She takes the sword and she goes, names have power in Limbo, so I'm gonna go ahead and name it. This is the Wrath Sword, as she cuts the head off of the dude who made it, or demon who made it. And then Madeline uses her powers and takes care of the rest of them. So of course the demons are like, this ain't over, you know, this is just a start, and we're gonna be around. And then Magik, being Magik, is like, oh yeah, that's fine. You just keep making the weapons and I'll just keep collecting them. So the Magik uses her powers to pretty much immobilize all the demons, temporarily immobilize them, until they are able to get put into the dungeons. So the Magik and Madeline are talking, and Madeline is like, yeah, you know what, I really didn't want you to come, but I'm kind of glad you come because I really kind of need your help. And then Ilyanna has to let her know that, look, just because I came and helped doesn't mean that I don't believe in you or that you can rule this place. I know you can rule this place, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't mind coming here sometimes to knock a few demons around. Actually, if you want, I could be a more hands-off consultant. Just let me know. But before I do that, I gotta take care of some business on Earth. Some mistakes that I made that I still need to fix. So the Madeline's like, no problem. Whenever you're ready, limbo's open. So then we cut to Society of the Eternal Dawn's headquarters, which nobody knows where it's at except for them. And we see a lady walking through the hallways. She goes to an office and she hops on the phone and she starts talking to Danny. And Danny fills her in on what happened to Luminol and Cal. And the lady's like, well, why don't you just come on in? My hunters are always welcome back home. Support the comic industry by visiting your LCS. My name is Dorian. This is SEN Comics. We continue our coverage of Magik with number 7. Our story starts off in the Badlands of South Dakota, where we see Mirage. She's walking towards this building that looks like it's mostly buried into the ground, with just the tippy top that's exposed. And she goes, "You seriously trying to sneak up on me? You've been trailing me for the past mile. Next time, hide your anger better." She turns around and shoots 2 arrows at Ilyanna, which she dodges. Then she's like, "I can't believe you will follow me to the headquarters of the Society of the Eternal Dawn." So the Magik tackles her. They're on the ground, and Danny's like, "Ilyanna, why are you attacking me?" And Magik's like, "You attacked me first." So Ilyanna's like, "Look, I just want to find Kyle. You weren't telling me where he was at, so I decided to find him myself." So they apologize to each other because they've been both treating each other like crap, like both of them. And then they go into the headquarters. So they head where they're keeping Kyle. Mirage wants to tell Magik something, and Magik's like, "No, I gotta go see him. I gotta go see him now." She walks over. There are 3 people guarding the door. She goes, "You losers want to let me in, or do I need to bust out my own sword and armor?" Somebody presses a button, door opens, she walks in. She goes, "Kyle, thank God you're awake." She goes and hugs him, and all you hear is, "Oh, Ilyanna, I've missed you too." What a sight to behold, as we see that Kyle is fully possessed by Luminol. So the Ilyanna's like, "What happened?" And Danny's like, "This is why I didn't want to tell you. Like, we had this under control." Luminol's like, under control, whatever. So Danny's like, "Be quiet, you." And she turns to Ilyanna and is like, "I just didn't want you to blame yourself for this." So the Luminol goes, "Ilyanna, the ritual that you conducted failed. And because of it, I have full control of this body. I am no longer bound to my dimension, and once this body adjusts to my power, I will be limitless. Think of the fun we'll have." So she turns right into the Darkchild, and those losers of the Eternal Dawn don't want her to do that. All of a sudden, the Gojo ripoff, with the blindfold over his eyes, starts to use his powers on Ilyanna. So now Ilyanna goes into her full Darkchild mode, which is half Darkchild, half her. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I'm digging this new look. Another girl tries to use her powers, and she makes these clay dolls to go at Magik, and she cuts right through them and goes right at the girl. So then the other girl, who has a Magik Daredevil Extremisticks, tries to go at Magik. Magik gets out the way. One of the clay dolls actually grabs Ilyanna, and the Extremisticks girl actually gets a hit in. So now Danny's like, everybody needs to calm down and stop. And Magik's like, they started it, I'm just finishing it. So the Luminol is praising Ilyanna for protecting them, and she turns around and snatches up Luminol's like, I'm not protecting you, I'm protecting Kyle. And then Luminol's like, is there a difference anymore? So Magik's done playing, and she busts out her other soul sword, which is pretty much tailor-made for Darkchild. And then this Gojo wannabe all of a sudden uses his magic, closes the pocket dimensions that the soul swords come from, so no more soul swords. So Magik's like, no problem, let's use magic. And then somebody says, everyone stop. It's the person who made and runs this place, and she's actually on Magik's side. She tells the people that are underneath her to pretty much stand down and don't stand in Magik's way. She tries to explain the situation to Magik, and then Magik is just extremely skeptical. She takes Magik out the room and starts showing her the headquarters and try to maybe make a connection and reason with Magik, but Magik ain't having none of it. The lady tries to explain that they're there to help prevent bad things from happening, and Magik goes, oh, okay, you got all this power, yet and still, Krakoa fell, Limbo invaded New York, vampires plunged the world into darkness, and Cal got hurt. You guys are batting 1,000. So then the lady's like, look, we do what we can, but you also gotta remember, we're only human. So all of a sudden, the 3 losers and Danny bring Luminol to the lady's office where her and Magik is at, and Luminol goes off like any villain does, So Magik's like, let me take Cal. Let me figure out a way to get Luminol out of him. Obviously, everybody feels like this is a bad idea and is arguing with the lady not to let this happen. So then the lady's like, you know what? Maybe we should go ahead and let this happen. And Luminol's like, are you serious? Like, my power grows every day. You gonna allow me to go with her? Like, you know this is gonna end badly, right? Like, I'm going to be the ruler of this realm. So the lady goes, you know what? I might not be able to prevent their powers from coming through, but I damn sure can delay it. So the Luminol just laughs and is like, what are you going to do? And she reaches into his chest and snatches out his heart. So Ilyanna's freaking out. The lady is like, don't worry. This magic spell doesn't harm Kyle's body. And Luminol's like, I didn't think you had the nerve. You're going to regret that. But Ilyanna's like, hold on, time out. What do you mean this doesn't harm him? You snatched out his heart. And the lady's like, I'm sorry, Ilyanna, but I assure you, ensuring peace is all about control. This lady is like Wu-Tang Clan. She ain't nothing to f with. Support the comic book industry by visiting your LCS. My name is Dorian. This is SEM Comics. We continue our coverage of Magik. With number 8. Our story starts off on the high roller in Las Vegas, Nevada, where we see a guy proposing to his soon-to-be wife. Maybe. Because after this, she might want to rethink this. All of a sudden, we see a step disc and Magik silhouette, and it looks menacing. She crashes through like the pod that they're in, and lady just screams Eddie, and Magik's like, congrats, you two. Through the good and bad, right? And she goes out the other side with Eddie. So they're falling through the air, and they're going through different step discs, and Eddie, he ain't no slouch. Like, he pulls out a strap. It looks like a skull, but I guess it's a strap. He starts busting at Magik. Magik's like, I can't believe you busting at me like this. Like, are you serious? And they go through a step disc. Half his legs are through one, while she pushes his body through another. Now, this doesn't cut him in half. Like, he has both his legs and both his feet. But his Crocs are gone. So they finally land on the ground, and Magik holding her soul sword is like, so, am I invited to the wedding? And he's just like, let me go. So Luminol and Danny are there too, and Luminol's like, why are we wasting our time with this dude? Like, do you really think he knows the location of the quill? I'm sorry, it's just not any quill. It's called the Zosmos quill. So Magik's like, the society has intel that these people know where the quill is. And then Luminol's like, do you really trust her? So Magik's like, look who's talking. Now, I don't agree with the woman's means, but if this is the only way to get Kyle back, then this is what we need to do. So Luminol's like, this gem that's on the quill can modify both the physical and metaphysical. But there's no reason to get the quill back, because even if you do this, the boy's soul's gone. It's dead. And once you get me out of here, he's just going to be a dead husk. So he's using his powers to get visual aid, but then the bindings that the lady put on him after she ripped out his heart kick in, and all of a sudden he's like, ow, that hurt. And the master was like, so, was that a little monologue word for all that pain? So the master's like, I know Kyle's still in there. And the Luminol's like, really? You like me? So as he turns to the dude, is like, all right, it's time to get him to talk. And then Danny's like, we interrogated a lot of these dudes. None of them were talking. And Master's like, yeah, well, we're going to use a different strategy this time. So then she makes a step disc, and she reaches in there and she goes, see this worm? It's going to burrow its way into your head until it gets your conscious thoughts. And then you're not going to be able to discern what is up from down. And I heard it's very painful. So then she goes, open up. So the Luminol interrupts and goes, how creative. Actually, he turns around and is like, you got a better idea, enlighten me. So they start arguing. All of a sudden, Danny goes, hey, the guy is actually spilling his guts out, you know, because of your empty threat. And then Magik goes, that wasn't empty. So then we cut to the headquarters of the Scarlet Eye. I guess that's the organization that they've been pretty much shaking down. So once they get there, Danny and Ilyanna are still having their arguments with each other. But while that's going on, Luminol is writing something on the wall. Matt turns around and is like, what are you doing? He's like, nothing. Just waiting for you guys to in your conversation. So she's like, what do you think, I'm stupid? And she grabs his hand and he goes, I wasn't writing anything. She goes, whatever. Danny, are you ready to go? Let's go. So they teleport in there, and there's a factory, and they're like, all right, we need to find a quill. And Luminol's like, this is way too easy. And Ilyanna's like, shut up. we're doing this. You ready, Danny? It's like, let's go. And then Luminol's like, you trust me? They both go, no. So these dudes seem normal, but as soon as they drop down and touch them, all of a sudden they start dissolving, and Magik's like, disgusting. And to Luminol's credit, it was a trap. And they walked right into it. There's a hallucination going on, and they don't know what up from down is. Almost like what Magik threatened the dude with. So they start trying to fight these monsters. And when Magik starts running, all of a sudden she trips, drops a sword, and just missed this dude coming down with a cleaver. And then Danny, she shoots her arrows, and it goes right through everybody, and it seems like it doesn't hurt them. So then Danny's like, all right, we got to push through this. And then Magik's like, no, we need to regroup. And then they start arguing again with each other, to the point to where they get punched by one of the monsters. So Luminol tells Magik she needs to slow down and make them play her game. So she uses a magical spell, and it momentarily works on the monster. So the alien's like, look, Danny, you used to be the leader of New Mutants. I'll follow your lead. Let me know what you want to do. But then Danny's like, this is your gig. Magic's your thing, so you tell me what you want to do. And again, they start arguing again. So Luminol steps in again. It's like, here's an idea. Why don't you block their line of sight? So Magik puts up a whole bunch of step discs between them and the monsters, and then they have a little bit of time to talk. So the Magik's like, what's our disconnect? Like, why can't we operate with each other anymore? So they start talking some more, and they're still trying to come up with something. Finally, Luminol interrupts us like, hey, I got an idea. We need to mess up their own reality. Well, my biggest fear is being trapped in my own dimension. So he's like, Danny, you think you could create that mirage? And she's like, you see what I can do. So that's what she does. She creates the mirage of Luminol's dimension, and we see that all these dudes are just normal dudes now. They all damn near got automatic weapons and knives, but they're just normal dudes. And one by one, Magik starts picking them all off. And she looks sinister as hell. Like, you could tell she tapped in to the Darkchild, and she's like, you're wasting air. So she continues to just pick them all off, even though they try to run away, until the only one that's left is a dude that looks like he's straight out of Scarface. And she's like, hi there. So obviously this dude just passes out, and they're like, well, he's not going to be much help. So all of a sudden, Danny just starts opening up to Ilyanna, and she's like, you said I was the leader of the New Mutants. Well, I didn't much feel like a leader, and I felt like when I was leading the team, I wasn't doing a really good job. So, and she's even crying. And then Ilyanna's like, look, I was there, and you did a fantastic job. They hug, and now they seem like they're back on the same page. So Luminol's like, I'm glad everybody's back on good terms. Do you guys trust me now? They both go no at the same time, and they snort and go jinx. So yeah, they're back on the same page. So Ilyanna catches Luminol trying to sneak something, and she's like, take 3 steps forwards, and you make us take 4 steps back. So then they start arguing, but then they get to a door, and I was like, I think what we're looking for is behind here. They open it up, and they see this dude, and he almost has like a Professor X helmet on, and it's got all kinds of wires, and he's like, no, you guys can't be here, this can't be real. Like, how'd you get past my illusion? And he's holding a quill, and they take his helmet off. So this dude's making no sense. And so Danny's like, well, it's a long shot, but when we try to create a psychic illusion, maybe a change of scenery might change his ranting. So that's what they do, and it actually starts to talk and make sense, and we come to find out that all these guys are defected from the same society that Danny's a part of. So Luminol's like, I told you, they sent you on a wild goose chase. That quill isn't going to save Cal. They just wanted you to do their dirty work. And all of a sudden, we see that this guy gets shot in the head. And they also shot the quill too. So a really good shot. And then on the last page, we see it's a society, and they're there not only to take out the defectors, but also now take out Danny, Ilyanna, and Luminol. So again, I ask, who's the real bad guy? Is it Luminol, or is it the society that Danny works for? Support the comic industry by visiting your LCS. My name is Dorian. This is SEO Comics. We continue our coverage of Magik at number 9. Our story starts off in Las Vegas on the Strip. And we got a lot of stories that take place in Las Vegas. Currently, the Hulk, well, where we're at with the Hulk is in Las Vegas right now. Or actually, just left. Anyway, Magik teleported there to try to get away from the society who has betrayed them and is trying to kill him. But unfortunately, the person that's chasing him down, I guess, knows how to teleport too. And she goes, "I found you." And then she says some kind of magical spell. All of a sudden, these things that look like snakes come out of her mouth. She throws them. They get extremely big, and we find out that they are dragons. Mariah shoots an arrow at one of the dragons, but all of a sudden, she's like, "I can't use my bow." And Lyle's like, "Because you got it from the society, and the society's trying to kill us." So, yeah, they betrayed you. So now she's back to using her psychic bow. So Lyle's like, "Bet you can't take out these goons faster than I can take out those 2 dragons." And then he's like, "You're wrong. And it's for the usual." So Lunar's like, "I can help. All I gotta do is remove the woman's spell." And Ilyanna looks at him and is like, "No, that's still not happening." So then he starts taking out the society members. Magik goes through one of her step discs, and now she's above the dragons. She's about to come down on one of them with her sword. All of a sudden, they turn in midair and is about to spit fire, and Magik's like, and all of a sudden, it looks like she got hit with the fire. But we see at the last moment, she went through a step deck, and she goes, "Man, that was close. He almost got me." But she does come down with a sword in one of the dragons, and this starts cutting him right down his back. So then the other dragon's coming to help out. She's been doing a countdown. She's like 3, 2, 1. She lets go of a sword. The dragons run into each other, and then she uses a spell to freeze them. And the next thing you know, they explode. She's still falling from the sky, but before she teleports, she catches her soul sword. And then she grabs the lady that made the dragons, pulls her into one of her discs, and then throws her out and is like, "I win." And Danny's like, "Nah, I've been done for about 30 seconds now." So the Magic's like, "We need to go get Cal's heart back because they're used as a dog leash to come after us." And Lunar's like, "I'm not a dog." And the Magic's like, "You're right, you're not a dog. Because a dog is lovable and fun, and you are none of these things." So then they teleport back to the Badlands in South Dakota, where the society's at. They walk into the complex, and they're like, "I wonder how long it's going to take for somebody to come after us." And then this lady comes with her magical nunchucks at Magik, and she goes, "Not long at all." So they waste no time, and they get away from the people that are attacking them, and they run back to the office to where Cal's heart at. And what's the Magik do? She kicks in the door, and the lady is waiting on them with Cal's heart in her hand. So Magik tries to use her magic, and then the lady's like biting her hands, and somebody uses a magical spell to make sure that Magik can't do anything. And then the lady is trying to explain herself, and then Magik goes, "I think I got you figured out. Like, your society doesn't predict disasters or anything like that. You predict the disasters because you're a mutant." So of course now Danny feels really betrayed because not only did she join society, but she joined society thinking that she was the only mutant that was there. Oh, come to find out, no, that's not the case. And now you just had a news coming. Now we get into this lady's origin story. So then we go to Rhode Island in 1885, where she probably just missed slavery. And then her mama, who was probably a slave, is with a white man, just breaking all the rules. And they're a part of a magical society, which I guess back then, there was a lot of them. Anyway, she saves her daddy one day walking through the woods from a bullet that was about to hit him. That came from a hunter who just missed the target. And I guess this wasn't the first time this kind of thing happened. So then the daddy starts to see that she has a special gift. And when the dad takes her to the society's leader, the dad thinks that it's a magical gift. He knows, nah, it's a mutant gift, which they still look down upon. Now, her gift is she can see into the future. So she's a precog, which we have a few of those already. Like we have Destiny, we have Larry Trask, so we have a few. So he calls her an abomination obviously her daddy's going to defend her, and he's a good swordsman. But unfortunately, the person that taught him how to use that sword is fighting her right now. So the society leader winds up killing her dad. Now the society leader doesn't like her, but he ain't stupid. He has a precog, so he's going to use her. So they hook up all this stuff to her, and she starts looking deep into the future, where she sees the bombs drop on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. She also sees the coming of the Sentinels. She also sees herself trying to save her mom from a fire. And then, all of a sudden, her mom, that never gave up on her, finds her. So she gets her unhooked and she takes her out. Places on fire, just like in her precognition, and the society leader finds him and starts using his magic. Now the stuff that they put in her is going to eventually kill her. Her mama knows that, so she uses her magic. She takes the life force out of the society leader and gives it to her daughter. Her mama dies from this experience, and so does the society leader, like he turns to ashes. But right before he dies, he pretty much calls her a filthy mutant. Now, I know she has the guy's life force. I don't know if she has her mama's life force. She might, because all of a sudden she's living for hundreds of years, and she's the one who makes the society that they're at right now. Created the whole thing. Now that the flashback is over, she also lets Danny know that she saw what would happen to Krakoa, and she decided not to do anything. Why? Because she is the mutant version of Candace Owens. She hates her own people. So Magik finally figures out a way to override the spell that's on her, and she grabs a soul sword, but then the lady grabs Luminol and is like, don't you come any closer, otherwise I'll squish his heart. Well, come to find out, Luminol isn't helpless anymore because Magik took off the blockers, and Luminol handles the society leader and all of our minions too. And he's ready to do an eye for an eye, or in this case, a heart for a heart. But the lady's not helpless either, and she's able to get Luminol to back himself up. And then she just turns into the Booty Warrior. She's like, look, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. Choice is yours. Is it violence, or is it peace? And on the last page, we see Magik, Danny, and Luminol all running out of her office, and she goes, violence it is. And it says, to be concluded. That means this series is about to come to an end, which I knew they were going to stop this at 10. Like, it's a good series. What did they do? Hey, go ahead and cut it. 10, we don't need anymore, which is stupid. Support comic industry by visiting your LCS. My name is Dora, and this is SCN Comics. We are concluding our coverage of Magik with number 10. Our story starts off at the headquarters of the Society of the Eternal Dawn, where we have Magik, Mirage, and Luminol trying to fight their way out of there. Luminol is ready to go to his normal nature and just go ahead and take these guys out. Magik had to step in and let him know that we're doing non-lethal force only here. Luminol and Magik are arguing like back and forth and actually tried to cast a spell at the same time. Magik just wanted to make a force field, but Luminol added something to the force fields where it's actually hurting the people inside. But then Embodiment shows up and she uses her magic to free her people from the force field. I don't know how I feel about that name, Embodiment. And why did it take us this long to find out what her name is? Like, it's the very last issue. So Embodiment is like, you guys are more of a dangerous threat than I even suspected. And Magik's like, you kind of created this threat. And Embodiment is like, no, you're the one that has a dangerous demon in her. You're the one that just has all this chaos around them. That's you. You know what? I'm not thinking about it. I got a question for all you smart people. Embodiment is, in a nutshell, she's a precog, which same thing as Destiny, same thing as Larry Trask. She can see the future. But if she tells the person that they're going to do something before they do it, doesn't that change the future? Please let me know in the comments. Because Embodiment is trying to keep them from doing it. In retrospect, she's telling them what they're going to do. So why would they still do it? I don't know. Just like I said, let me know in the comments what you guys think. So then Danny chimes in and she's like, I can't believe you had me join this organization and it's built on lies. Like, you sick people on what ifs. Like, we literally hurt people on possibilities. So Embodiment's like, my track record's clean. And Danny's like, is that so? And then she drops the Mirage. The pillar is not really a pillar, but it's Embodiment's 2 most loyal soldiers. And they heard everything. So her soldiers still want to believe or follow Embodiment, but now they're starting to question her. And this does not sit well with Embodiment. So what does she do? She attacks Magik because she feels like this is all her fault. So Embodiment is kind of taking it to Magik, like she's falling back, she drops her sword. Magik tries to use the Crimson Bands of Sidorak, but before she get the word Sidorak out, Embodiment hit her in the throat with like a spell, and then this magical strip like goes over her mouth. So then Magik pulls it off and goes, fine, your mistake. Spells only slow me down. And she busts out both of her soul swords. Now, even though Magik has 2 soul swords, Embodiment is still putting on her. I mean, she's just a better sword fighter. Maybe a better fighter, period. Which is saying something, because we know how tough Magik is. So Magik gets kicked into this room, and there's like this standalone door, and Embodiment is about to, I guess, stab her because she dropped both her soul swords. But then Magik goes and opens up the door and goes in there, and it's like this infinite room with like all these infinite books, or actually shelves of books. And Embodiment calls it the Library of Fates. She's bragging about it, but I guess she doesn't like it that much because she's throwing these fireballs at Magik. Magik's dodging them, and it's hitting the shelves with the books in them. She hits one shelf and it's just burning, I guess, but Magik uses that as a distraction, and she jumps through the fire to finally get Embodiment. And then she uses a spell to have a bunch of books around Embodiment and attack her with all kinds of things, like dragons are coming out, like it looks like a kraken's coming out, a snake monster is coming out, like all kinds of things. And they go at it again with the swords, but this time Magik one-ups her and kicks her through a portal. Embodiment gets put to like a lower level of this floating place, and then Magik jumps from the level that she was at, comes down and snaps Embodiment's sword in half. So Magik's like, you lost, I won. Can you stop coming after me? She extends her hand and Embodiment slaps it away. And Magik's like, it's cool. I'm going to go ahead and deal with Lunal because we can both agree that's a threat that needs to be taken care of. You can stay here. I'll be back for you as soon as I take care of him. And oh, by the way, this is between me and you. You almost had me. Magik goes to one of her portals. She comes out and then she burns the door. So Embodiment is trapped there. And as soon as he checks on Luminol, she sees him killing as many people as he can in this society. So Luminol uses his power to push everybody out the way. He attacks Magik. Magik kicks him off of her. And then she uses a spell to separate Luminol from Cal. Finally. So the one dude that looks like he should be in Jujutsu Kaisen is trying to stand in the way of Luminol and Magik, and Luminol just pushes him out the way. Magik dodges one of his shots, and Luminol's like, oh, it's time to go ahead and deliver this death blow. All of a sudden, Luminol can't move, and Magik goes, Embodiment was right about one thing. A tactician always has multiple pieces on the board. Welcome back, Cal, as we see Cal using a magical spell to hold back Luminol. Now, don't ask me how Cal was able to do this. He starts putting on Luminol, and then all of a sudden, he just uses a spell and banishes Luminol away, I guess, back to his dimension. And I guess he is now the seal, which is crazy. Like I said, he wasn't that strong before Luminol took him over. Maybe Luminol's powers went to Cal. Now he's able to use it. I don't know. So that whole building just collapsed. I mean, everybody got out. Everybody who was still alive got out, I guess. And the society members look lost. And Magik tells Danny that you should be the one that leads them. Obviously, Danny isn't sure of herself. And then Magik's like, look, like I said before, you're the best leader that I've ever seen. Just please don't tell Cyclops I said that. So then Kyle's like, I know I gotta continue my family's legacy, but I just want to go back to school. Like, is that selfish? And Magik's like, nobody ever said you couldn't do both. Like, go back to school, be a kid or young man. So then Kyle's like, is this goodbye? And Magik's like, you can never get rid of me like that. Besides, I have portals. I can go wherever I want, whenever I want. So no, you're not getting rid of me. So then Danny's like, so what's next for you, Magik? And she says some things, but in a nutshell, she's going back to the X-Men. Like, what else is she going to do? And that's it. So how'd you guys like the series? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you feel like it's too short? Did you feel like it was too long? Please let me know in the comments. So Psylocke and Magik got solo runs, and they're on the main roster. Who else on that roster should get solo runs? Marvel's asking my opinion, which they would never ask my opinion, but if they were, I want to see a B solo run, maybe a Juggernaut solo run with his neck snapping ass, or maybe a Magneto series of him getting cured or whatever the hell he got and getting back to being Magneto. Let me know in the comments, who would you like to see a solo run out of?